Cricket et al. It's a website. It's a podcast.
Pete, it's a way of life. It's Gideon Haig over here.
Peter Lawler over here, live and exclusive at Galle from the second test for Cricket et al. I'm on the rooftop.
Yeah, and welcome to the your favourite independent cricket podcast, even more independent than usual tonight. And
I'm sure I don't know what you're referring to.
I can't imagine either. Anyway, we're back. We're back doing what we do best, reporting cricket. And Pete, you've got a beautiful scene in the background. Describe it for us. It's gorgeous.
I can't see it, mate. You can see
You
it.
can't
It's
see it.
behind me.
All right. There's a little bit of ground. There's a bit of sky.
What you can't see is the ground staff doing the Olympic opening ceremony, rolling out the tyres and putting on the covers.
Yeah.
Over here, I've got the. I can probably show you over there. The sun is setting on the Indian Ocean somewhere over there. Anyway,
glorious.
And of course, that's the Galle Fort behind me. It is the most picturesque ground in the world.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. We'll talk about that other stuff at the end of the podcast. There's a little bit more to say about it, but let's talk about the cricket first, where Sri Lanka are 9 for 229 after 90 interesting overs. They won the toss.
Interesting overs, yeah. Important toss to win, Pete. What's your impression of the pitch?
This is that was a very important toss to win. Even as I've said in the piece today, it's a bit like that scene from No Country for Old Men, Gideon, where what's the most you've ever lost on the toss of a coin?
Toss of a coin.
I'm sure everybody's seen that film, but if they haven't, they should. And in fact, they should read the book, because I read the Cormac McCarthy book. It's one of my favourites, probably one of the best movies I know.
Well, best adaptations? Yeah.
Best adaptation without a doubt. Yeah.
Javier Bardem, unforgettable.
Yeah. So anyway, when Sri Lanka lost the toss, I reckon Australia went, this could get a bit awkward. And I reckon they thought that, especially when they went to lunch with the score at 1 for 87. I thought it looked like Sri Lanka had the absolute running in this cricket match. Dinesh Chandamar was still at the wicket. Dimuth Karunaratne was there as well. As I said,
just to explain, it's been really hot, hasn't it? The last week since the last test, so it hasn't been the same sort of climatic conditions that affected the pitch in the first game, where it was quite slow, wasn't it? Yeah. So it's been very dry.
Well, the lead into the first test, there was a lot of rain. So they couldn't, and so they were using heat lamps and fans to try and dry the wicket. In the lead up to this one, it's been dry. It's been hot as it was at the back end of that last test. In fact, it's stinking hot. The mornings are the worst. The mornings are very enervating. I was talking to Usman Khawaja about this the other day, about just how hot it is in the mornings. And he said, it's some of the hardest conditions, some of the harder conditions he's played in with the humidity and things. Of course, I do love it that Aussie still wears the shirt button down to the wrist because he thinks it looks cool.
Up to the neck. Yeah.
Because he thinks that looks cool. And of course, he bats with a helmet on because he sweeps, as we we discussed last time. But he said that he has a heart monitor on his wrist. Yeah, right. And normally I think if he's done a bit of running, it'll get up to 150 for a while. Here it gets up to 180 and kind of hangs around there. You even find it when you walk to the ground that your heart rate is really up. They're very trying conditions.
And he's quite good at husbanding his energies. He never runs where he can walk.
That's right.
He's a master of that. He's a master of soaking up pressure and getting off strike and just turning everything down. So if his heart's beating at 180, I can't imagine what everyone else is beating at.
Yeah, it takes a bit to get Uzi's heart beating fast. We
should talk about the Aussie selections, Pete.
Oh, yeah. See, I've raced into the match, haven't I? So my heart's beating fast because I'm up against it too, because I only get a short bit of Wi-Fi here, and then they turn the Wi-Fi off on me and we lose the whole podcast.
All right. Okay.
The Aussie selections were really interesting. What did you make of them, Gideon, or selection?
I'm interested. I mean, I didn't see it coming, I have to say. Connolly at number 8 seems, Connolly's a batter who bowls a little bit and not very much. To have him coming in at number 8 does seem And to leave us with 3 frontline bowlers does potentially seem to leave us a little bit short-handed. You're sort of relying on Connolly, Webster and Head to kind of fill the gaps in your attack. But I guess they reason that it's going to be a short test match anyway. And why bring the kid all that way and not play him? They've sent Sam Constas home. How many first-class games has Connolly plays at 4? I mean, they picked Nathan Lyon here, and he played 5 in 2011. So they've Pat Cummins had only played 3, hadn't he?
Yeah, stop me if you've heard this before. He's only bowled 96 deliveries in first-class cricket.
Yep.
It was curious, and again, it goes back to the toss. I think if they were bowling in the second and last innings, it would have favoured them better. And they've gone for 3. They've replaced one. They've replaced Todd Murphy, a frontline spinner, with 3 part-time spinners, essentially, who can bat. Smith, I think they did that in the knowledge that the wicket would deteriorate much more quickly than the previous one. It had been signalled from some time out that this was not going to be not going to be the same wicket. It was going to be a very challenging one. And we spoke to Smith before the match, and he signalled that he was really looking forward to that. And look, but I was at training yesterday. It was the day before. So it was the day before, and all the signs were there that something was going on. The selector, whatever his name is, not the name that I used.
Cracker's come back.
God, yeah, Cracker's come back. Tony Doddermaid was having one of those. Do you remember? I think we were in the nets in Galle in that last Indian tour, and the selector on the phone, at the nets, having the sort of conference call back to his colleagues in Australia. That was clearly going on. People were reading a lot into the body language, but as it turned out, all the Australians were very hungover from having their own private Australian Cricket Awards party the night before. I heard that Marnus might have had the second hangover of his life. So he was looking a bit sheepish, I've got to say. And there was a lot of thought among the lads who watch these things more closely than I that he would be out. Then everybody got it in their heads that, in fact, Connolly was coming in for Bo Webster, which, as I said in the piece yesterday, did Bo Webster be hard on him? But they were hard on Sam Constas. I like the boldness of what they're doing, Gideon.
Yeah.
I like the fact that they're not taking conservative options. They know that you've got to think a little bit outside the square in situations like this. You've got to risk being criticised, and I think sometimes selectors and coaches can become too conscious of criticism. The other thing that I picked up when I was here was I actually went to McDonald's 2 days before the game. So I said, so only one change, Andrew? And he gave me that look like he'd be a terrible player of cards, Andrew McDonald. His face gives everything away. Like, how do you know? It was kind of look on his face, and he ummed and ahed and said, but anyway, so that's what has taken place. I quite enjoyed it because I was on the beach the other night with Simon Kadich. And we ran into Donna and Shane Connolly. The
Cap presented the cap today, didn't he?
That's right, yeah. And they're Coop's parents. I loved it. Mum's a sweetheart. She's from Taree, up on the Manning River in New South Wales. Dad's a real West Australian bloke, both really nice people. Dad's the one who's put his shoulder to the wheel with getting Coops up and about in cricket, and schooled him in that sort of hard knock school of Perth club cricket. I think he plays at Scarborough along AJ Tye. Dad was saying, look, he won't die wondering, this kid. He'll go out there and have a crack, much in the mould, I guess, of Sam Constas. Smith says, I've watched him bowl in the nets. He bowls straight. Often that's just enough. That's all you have to do in Sri Lanka. It wasn't all as it turned out, it wasn't all you had to do on this pitch today, because the pitch, the pitch was in the best condition it will be in for the match. So he only bowled a handful of overs, and we didn't really get any impression of what he could do. He's there to bat first, isn't he, and bowl second. Travis Head, who Steve Smith speaks very highly of Travis Head's bowling. He bowled 8 overs and, of course, picked up a wicket. Really enjoyed the first spell with Matthew Kuhneman's first over was a ripper. You thought, oh, my God, it's on here. I mean, there were 2 possible wickets in that over. One was an umpire's call that they didn't review. The second was an umpire's call that they sent upstairs. And, look, it should have been given by the umpire. It was crashing into the leg stump in my mind, but that wasn't happened. Nathan Lyon came into the attack soon and stepped up, took those early wickets and he took the first wicket, and then took wickets early in the second session. He bowled really well, Nathan Lyon, although some of the shots the Sri Lankans played were just very hard to explain, especially the shot of Dhananjaya de Silva. I mean, he's the bloody captain, waves the wand at the first delivery he faces from Mitchell Starc. It's already been indicated that the ball is reversing. This is in the second session of the day. The
Aussies were very good in that second session, weren't they? They were very good the way they squeezed, very professional. And you got to give them credit. I think the Sri Lankans did get choked. And they were looking to try and turn the trajectory of the game back, and that's why I think Dhananjaya played that poor shot. I can't understand why Dhananjaya is batting at number 6. You cannot captain a team from number 6, especially if you're not bowling, which he's not bowling at the moment. I know he's made half of his Test hundreds at number 6, but by the time you're coming in at the fall of the 4th wicket, the course of the game is pretty much determined. I thought. And he's not bowling. Point. He didn't. Australia made $1 million during the first Test match, and Dhananjaya didn't bowl. So I thought the Aussies were good, and Sri Lanka were didn't quite know whether to stick or twist, did they?
No. And look, we're jumping all over the place, but Karunaratne is playing his last Test match. Yes, it's his 100th and last Test match. Very nice scenes this morning when the line of schoolboys came out in their whites and held the bats up in the air for him, including the son of Lalit, who owns the restaurant that Kat and I were eating and drinking at the other night, and in fact last night as well. Again, he batted all right, but so you had 2 ceremonies on the ground. You had the cap presentation, and I've written about that today. Simon Kadich spoke really well. I've quoted him in the piece on Cricket et al, the Substack. You can actually, and I'll put a link to footage of the speech. It's well worth hearing. Mum, Donna, was crying by the end of it, and mate, I almost teared up when I listened to it. Yeah. So, like Simon had his cap presented by Richie Beno.
Richie Beno, I was there at Headingley in 2001.
You were. I was too young. And Simon's remembered to this day what Richie told him, and he told the kid what Richie told him and spoke to the kid about it. Simon was up at 3 a.m. after he got the call from Andrew McDonald, and he couldn't sleep after that. He was going over and over what he'd say, and mate, he nailed it. And Cooper Connolly should remember that for a long time. There was a great scene then when Connolly had the cap, and then he sort of he doesn't have that long hair, but he has that sort of lank, surfy kind of hair, and he flicks the hair back like that, pulls the baggy green on it. Here comes Jen next. It's interesting, the selections, isn't it? We've had four debuts in 4 Test matches. We've had 5 debuts across 7 Test matches. 2 of them have played two of those people making their debut have played very little first-class cricket. Others are veterans of the game, like Bo Webster and Josh Inglis, played a lot of cricket. McSweeney as well, but it was in Constas, and now we're seeing Cooper Connolly, who are horses for courses. Oh, well, Constas was a horse for the just a sort of antidote, wasn't he, to Bumrah, and Cooper Connolly is a horse for this course. A little bit of batting, well, a lot of batting, and hopefully a lot of batting, like he did in the Shield final last year, and a little bit of bowling. And he's the one who takes the game on.
Yeah. Yep. Well, they're all of that. They're all of that disposition now, aren't they? I think every player these days is encouraged to take the game on. There's certainly no incentive to take the game off. They just don't make cricketers like that anymore. So, yeah, we will see some change to the balance of the Australian side, and maybe maybe that'll be horses for courses. Maybe Australia will begin to play cricket in a slightly different way because they have slightly different personnel.
Yeah.
Anyway,
look, and we say horses for courses, but these are picks for the conditions, aren't they? I think hopefully we'll still see cricket played in that more traditional manner. I mean, Sam Constance plays in a very traditional manner. We're not facing Jasprit Bumrah. We're not going to just see T20 batters out there facing a red ball. That's just not going to work. But it is an option in these sort of ragging conditions, I think, to take the game on. And that's why they have Travis Head at the top of the order.
So 4 for 57 in the second session. Australia seemed to be right on top, but then Sri Lanka did pull it back somewhat in the first half of the last session. Kusal Mendis, who's actually looked a different player since he dropped down to number 7. I noticed that his average at number 7 is 50 compared to 35 at number 3. It's interesting that a player would prosper so much from a demotion and the inclusion of wicket-keeping responsibilities, but he played very well today. And he is a quality cricketer who's coming into his prime. He's 30 and he should be batting like that. But he's a very good player to have coming in at number 7.
Yeah, he sure is. And he's 59 not at the end of the day from 107 balls. That's the second biggest contribution to the scorecard after Chandimal's 74. Chandimal was looking pretty good, I thought, until he was stumped by, a nice piece of work by Carey and Kuhneman. I was most impressed by Mitchell Starc. I'm a Mitchell Starc fan. I love a fast bowl. I love a grizzly fast bowler with thinning hair. And, he's the last man standing. He's Clint Eastwood of cricket these days. All right, I'll do it. And he got 3 wickets. It was great. How long since we've seen reverse swing bowling? Some time. We didn't see any in the Australian summer.
No.
It's probably, the prevailing conditions. But out here, the ball is going to reverse because the surface is so dry. It tells you how wet it was in the first test that it didn't. Now that it's dried out in that second session, Mitch had it going. There's always that tell, isn't there, when he hides the ball in the other hand.
I love it when he does that.
Oh, I do too.
He looks all furtive and sneaky, doesn't he?
Yeah. And look, he bowled 16 overs. He took 3 for 37. He plays the game in such wonderful spirit. He can beat. I think the thing he likes most is beating batsmen all ends up, and then he gets that big grin on his face, that Mitchell Starc grin. I think he enjoys that more than taking a wicket sometimes. He just looks at the batsman and says, "You lucky bastard."
I tell you what, I reckon he actually missed out on a very good chance for a hat-trick today.
Yeah,
he bowled that very good bounce to Ramesh Mendis, and then he nicked him off with the cross seamer, and then he nicks off Jayasuriya. Now Pires can't bat. Like, his batting average is like 2.3. I thought all he had to do was bowl one straight. He's bowled it on fifth stump, and Pires has played inside it. And he just, and he deserves it. He deserves a Test hat trick, I think. Mitchell Starc.
He does. Yeah.
Oh, and the other thing, of course, Steve Smith, 197 Test catches.
I didn't pick that up. Well done.
Record. That was when he caught Jayasuriya.
Yeah,
nice catch to get it, actually.
Yeah,
and if he'd taken a few of the catches that he shelled this summer, some of the easy ones, he would have passed it by now. But he has been a great catcher, and great catches are fundamental when you've got a team with fast bowlers like Australia. The ability of Australia to go through teams over the last 10 years has been hugely enhanced by their Corden and Steve Smith being outstanding.
Yeah, they light it up. I thought that was when McSweeney came in. I thought, great, another really good fielder, good catcher in that sort of region of the game. And we've got Cameron Green is also excellent. But the introduction of Bo Webster has been interesting. He's got a really good set of hands, and he covers a bit of the field with that bloody. He's got the biggest sort of wingspan I've seen. They're like sort of those cranes that you see on the top of city buildings when they're.
Can you imagine two gullies of Cameron Green and Bo Webster standing?
Oh my goodness! Yeah. Nothing's going over the top, is it? No. Anyway, there's not. Yeah, Travis Head. I guess Travis Head is kind of the ordinary fielder. Well, he's not an elite fielder, let's say that way, but. Because he tends to wander off if you have him in the outfield. You have to keep yelling at him, Travis, get back on your mark.
But he still took the crucial catch in the World Cup final in 2023, didn't he? The catch to get rid of Rohit Sharma.
And he's a brave bat pad. He likes to get in there and get close. And he doesn't flinch. He doesn't mind that stuntman role, I think, Trav. Yeah. And, of course, he's won some gong this week, didn't he? Did you go to the Australian Cricket Awards or whatever they're called?
I think they're in Sydney. So, no,
they weren't, mate. They were in Melbourne.
Were they?
Oh,
right.
So
I had no excuse.
You have no excuse at all. Yeah. Yeah. I tell you what, if I'd have been in Australia, I wouldn't have gone.
No, I get an invitation every year, and somehow I always manage to forget that it's on.
Yeah, although it would have been good been good to go along and see Sam and Higo. I always enjoy them, but it's a pretty high price to pay to sit there through an event like that. I wonder if I've even actually sat through it in the main hall. I used to have to report from it out the back in a locked room. God, it was a
we had
night.
Maxi. Yeah. We had Maxi at the Yarras on Tuesday night.
That looked like great fun.
That's my function of the week. That
looked like great fun. Yeah,
that was just brilliant. He was outstanding. He fitted right in, and it looked like he looks at home. I think in any club environment, he talked to everyone, very welcoming, very generous. Spoke terrifically well. Stuck around. Had quite a few beers. I left in there at 11:30. For all I know, he could still be going.
I think we've been speaking a lot lately for one reason or another. I think you told me that the other day, and I remember when we had Will Pekowski down there. Remember?
We did,
and exactly the same thing. Will just sunk, just fitted straight in and was in there talking cricket with everybody. It wasn't like having a star in a room. It was like seeing cricketers sort of return to their comfortable place. That Yarra's clubhouse, think, this is where they came from, these guys. And both really good guys too. I'm spewing on Miss Maxi. I love listening to Maxi talk.
He was great. Fun, and his first coach was there. His first coach is a Cricket Etal subscriber.
Well, isn't everybody?
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, actually, quite a few more people are subscribers than they were a week ago, Pete.
We do seem to have a lot of new subscribers because of that event, of which we shall not speak, but we might.
We might. But we should talk about a new introduction to Cricket Etal, Pete, our new talent.
Oh, gosh. I have been busy. I've been busy with admin today. It's hard without you here. I've got to do everything, mate. I need an extra set of arms.
Did you present Thomas with a baggy Cricket Etal cap?
Well, and I'd only just thought of this. I should travel with fresh Cricket Etal T-shirts in the bag because I'm going to go down to their tap house behind me. Later now and meet Thomas Miles, who's a fantastic young man. I'm going to have a beer with him. For those who haven't read the Substack yet, and probably not many of you have because it's late at night, we've got a scorer, and man, not just an ordinary scorer.
Not just any old scorer.
Incredible. Now, we met him, was it last year or the year before on the Montefiore Hill?
Yeah.
I couldn't recall.
We were walking down to the Adelaide Test match, and he came up and introduced himself, didn't he? Yeah.
I actually think we were probably coming back from Peter Rabbit because I remember we were on the gravel track.
You're right.
We're on the gravel track that runs up on the roadside, and he came up, and I think he was working at the Border Mail or the Border News or whatever it's called then. Absolute cricket enthusiast, really sweet young man. Just loves his cricket, but we didn't know how much he loved his cricket until we ran into him at the MCG where he was outside the ground when we were leaving one night. And I think that's where he showed us for the first time these incredible score sheets that he does.
You know, I do a bit of scoring, and we went, oh, that's interesting. And then he showed us the score sheets, and we went, you're really scoring.
What the hell is that?
What the hell is that? Yeah.
So this is a kid who probably started over 10 years ago doing, as I'm sure you did as a young man, doing in the ABC cricket books, scorecard in there religiously. But he felt that was too constrained and didn't give a full enough account of the day's play. So Thomas has taken upon himself to design his own score sheets. Mm-hmm. He's designed them on Microsoft Excel, and I think that's the only computer technology that was used in the production of these, because these are totally analog. These are coloured pens, rulers, the clipboard, the printed sheet. You've got to get on the website, people. You've really got to get there and have a look at these things. As I say in the piece, Gideon, I've never heard you. This is the most excited you've been since the stick shed. And I got to say, I'm with you on it. I am pumped about these. Yeah. I went out looking for him today because I'd run into him just by rat chance yesterday. Yeah. There's you again. The last time I saw you in Melbourne. And I put it to him because remember we discussed doing it towards the end of that border, but we were a bit tired, or, you know, it's one of those great ideas we had that we never acted on. So it's been left to me and I've done it. Gideon, don't you worry. You just sit there. And oh boy, I'm really excited about this.
He's really delivered. He
has delivered in spades. So I owe him a few beers. Can we have a break and talk about that other stuff so I can get down there and buy him a beer?
Yeah. Sure, that's a good idea. Let's be back in a moment on Cricket et al. And we're back on Cricket et al. It's been a hell of a week. It's been a very long week for both of us, but for Pete in particular. And Pete, is there something you'd like to say?
Well, in a way, yes and no. I mean, I've said all I needed to say about me being dismissed from SEN on Cricket et al. I don't intend to drag that out. I don't want any vengeance on those people. I don't want to grandstand about it. I don't feel like a victim, and I don't want to make myself out to be a victim. I'm quite, a little shocked by what happened, but that's what happened, and I'm going to move on from it. I don't, so what? One less thing to do. As I said, I can now concentrate exclusively on the Cricket et al. Podcast. And those of you who were listening closely on the fourth day of the last test would have heard me say that, because I'd been dismissed that morning by Craig Hutchison. What I was most concerned about when releasing that piece and the news becoming public, as I knew it would, was the reaction that I was going to get. I was bracing myself to be called all sorts of things and described in a manner that I thought would, because I'd heard allegations about who and what I was that just weren't true. So I intended just to turn my phone off for a couple of days and try and chill out. I was very stressed, as you picked up, Gideon, in the phone calls leading up to that moment. Yeah. But what happened was I pushed go on that story. I jumped in a auto rickshaw and I headed down to Lucky Tuna on Unawatuna, which is my happy place owned by Lallet, whose son was here today. Happy place here. I find it so relaxing to be down on that beach and have a swim. And I thought, all right, I'm going to turn the phone off. And Sue rang and said, don't turn your phone off. She said, what? She said, go on Cricket et al. Just go there and have a look at what people are saying. I need to thank you all. It's the biggest group hug in history. You're all magnificent people. Thank you so much. I was fretting, but after I read what all you people said, I fretted no longer. I know we're among friends here, and that's great. So I want to, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Gideon. I don't have to make a speech here. You stood by me, at times when I was really flapping. Particularly thanks, and to Janine, who gave advice, but particularly to Sue, who's been stuck at home. And these events can be really stressful for spouses. They worry about their partner who's on the other side of the world. They imagine all sorts of stuff, and I'd had to speak to Sue and to the kids to prepare them that it could get terrible, but it didn't. And it didn't because there's people like the people you who are listening now and our subscribers, and so many more people have subscribed as a result of what's happened. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks very much. Welcome to the village. It's a good spot.
Yeah, it is a good spot. I tell you one funny thing, Pete. I haven't told you this IRL, but I've started receiving all these emails from SEN. Obviously, I've been saying the words SEN so much in proximity to my computer that it started sending me all these emails about all the updates on all the football teams, all the offers to join its footy tipping competition. I don't know where it's come from. I didn't volunteer for it, but someone's been listening. Someone's always listening out there.
Yeah. I can't tell you the ads I've been getting recently. Wait, I think, God, what am I saying in front of this thing? I don't need incontinence pads, do I? When I say piercing myself, I consider Jed to be a very good friend, and I don't want people to be angry at him or the people, most of the people there. Let's move on, concentrate on the main game, and get back to the cricket.
9 for 229 people. Kusal Mendes' 59 not out at the end. It looks like it's going to be another short test, Pete. 4 days, maybe even 3, but we will be there for all of them. It's been great to have your company once again on Cricket at Sale. Great to be back doing what we do best. And in the meantime, it's goodbye from me.
And it's good night from him.